and then go into round 5 with slightly less pressure compared to if they're going in there at X1, there's huge pressure. That will be a sort of winning in situation. So yeah, big pressure. And I think with that, we're pretty much ready to head to the game.
Yeah, so we can head right on in. It'll be Batsu on your left on the red side there with the Darius deck, which I've got to assume is a Hook Darius. That's the one I hear so much about. And I believe Batsu is a big proponent of this particular style of Darius. And on the other side, on the blue side, on the right, it is going to be Bear, which is interesting to me, Ollie, because in League of Legends, Annie plays the Bear, but apparently here in Riftbound, the Bear plays Annie?
Yeah, real role reversal here. So we've got the Dark Child. We see that Tibbers. I don't think we'll see Tibbers today. It's not exactly a popular Riftbound card, but it was cool that they brought it out of the lore and made it a Riftbound card. But yeah, here we go. So we've got that nice Glory Seeker. We saw Set do this in the last series where they just played it without the Legion effect just to get a body on the board and established. We'll see what the Annie does here. He does have an extra rune to channel. I'm sure they'll be reminded of that in just a second. Just to quickly touch on the battlefields, we've got 2 of the strongest battlefields for each player. We've got the Trifarian War Camp for the Darius, which when you're playing a Swarm deck, there is currently not a better battlefield in the game. Being able to give +1 might to so many units, all of your recruit tokens become 2 might units, which is just a massive swing. And then another battlefield, which is a real favourite for Annie and all aggro decks, is the Arena's Greatest. So you see both players are currently tied up at 1 point each. So we are still playing to 8, but everyone's got a head start, and we are now at 2-2.
Yeah, so the score should be kind of even there, and yeah, accelerated to kind of see how this goes. Interesting to me, the Trifarian Glory Seekers that are being played by Batsu right now, all 3 by the second turn, and 2 of them were played without the Legion. And if you are running a hook deck, one of the ideas behind the Trifarian Glory Seekers that you Legion, you get the buff. It's easier to go fishing with almost all the unit cards being within that sort of 3-4 might region.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 3 is a really key breakpoint. I'm sure we'll touch on it later when we see it come out, but the Spectral Matron is a 4 might unit, which is one of the core cards of this deck. And then so that obviously means you want to kill a 3 might unit. Not as costly in this situation with the War Camp. If you get a Glory Seeker on a War Camp, they'll go up to 3 anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, certainly interesting when you're when 3 of your top 7 cards are your Glory Seekers. You just do kind of want to get them out on the battlefield as quickly as possible. We see some great replies here from Bear, coming in with the Void Seeker to clear the battlefield and then supporting his sneaky deckhand with a Noxus Hopeful. So you can see we've already got 8 might sat on the Trifarian War Camp, so it's a lot for this Darius deck to get over very early on in the game.
And with the Hook Darius, a lot of times you're not so much looking at spells or abilities to clear off battlefields. You're kind of looking at units and just overloading with the sheer amount of might that you're able to fish out from your deck. Things like Vayne to be aggressive and kind of push in, or just spamming recruit tokens with sort of Spectral Matron, Vanguard Captain combo that you're alluding to. So far, though, no hook coming out from Batsu, so he's just got to do it the good old-fashioned way with the units going up there. He's going to try and trade with that sneaky deckhand, wants to take that one off, but if he wants to take out the Noxus Hopeful, he's going to need a little bit more. Some sort of spell to buff it up, whether, it be something like a Cleave, a Hidden Blade even, potentially.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. I think this probably actually isn't really the start that the Darius was hoping for. You really want to be seeing that hook come down turn 2 preferably, if not turn 3 at the latest, which is where we are now. So he's moving in here, and he's clearly got a decision to make if she wants to interact with this Glory Seeker. I think this is one of the really interesting things. You see, we were discussing it a lot last round with the Kaiser, when if they're tapped out versus if they're not tapped out. And he's never tapped out, because with the legend ability, you get to ready those 2 runes, and it just gives access to a lot of potential spells. We see that Bear does accept the trade, takes the handshake, and so the Sneaky Deckhand and the Glory Seeker will trade with each other. But we've then got the 5 might Noxus Hopeful sitting still on the Trifarian War Camp, and let's see if there is an answer. I think you spot on there. There isn't a lot of aggressive spells. I mean, it's very rare Darius plays things like Void Seekers or Falling Stars potentially, but they do have things like Cleave. They've obviously got the Darius Legend or Champion unit, which can potentially ready itself. If you do Darius plus Cleave, that's a 10 might swing that you can have, but we can see instead he's just chosen to go into the Arena's Greatest and score his 3rd point.
It doesn't want to fall behind. He's still got all his runes kind of ready to go there. You could pull in the Darius and then still use the Darius Legend to give you that extra bit of energy. Maybe a second card can come off your hands. We talked a lot about how Baited Hook deck runs roughly around that sort of 2 to 4 might region. And I mean, Trifarian Glory Seekers, as we can see, they are pretty cheap in terms of being able to use that. Ride the Wind as an answer from Bear to deal with the Glory Seeker.
That's very cool. We do see this often. I think one of the best things with Annie is that this Ride the Wind combo, for those of you that aren't familiar with Annie, you can play Vi in the late game, Ride the Wind, and then you can swing potentially up to anything up to like a 20 might Vi into different battlefields and then score 2 points, which is one of the big combos. But you can see with Annie, the benefit is you can use it early to gain this tempo, because you see not only do you kill the Glory Seeker, you score a point as well. And then when the time comes, you can see the Annie champion unit just allows you to bring back a spell from your trash. You can play her, get the Ride the Wind back, and still have that killer combo to win the game. So it's a really, really cool tactic to be able to use it early. Whereas if you're playing something like Jinx, which works in a similar way, you don't want to spend those Ride the Winds, because obviously you then need to find another copy to be able to play and win, play your combo.
Yeah,
so we see another deckhand coming down. Sorry, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the fact that you can also move on your opponent's turn, get to the other battlefield, and if you can hold it successfully, which didn't happen on this particular turn, you score again when your turn starts, right? So, like you're talking about, just to reinforce your point about how quickly these sort of Annie decks can score with the mobility they have. Thankfully, for Batsu, he's able to get both the Noxus Hopeful out as well as his Darius, so that he negated all those points coming through from the side of Bear there, and is going to be fairly competitive still, very, very close in terms of points.
Yeah, exactly. Spot on. I think you noticed that it was actually a very good thing for the Darius that he was able to ready his champion unit to be able to deal with that Hopeful, because otherwise Yanni would have held and gone to 6, but we can still see he's at 5, he's pulling back. I don't think... So we're going to retreat the Darius first, potentially? We haven't played a card yet this turn, so if we're just thinking about when will Darius ready himself, we still haven't done anything yet. So you do have the potential to retreat Darius, play 2 cards, and that will ready the Darius, which will give you the ability to take both battlefields and just stop that tempo. Because you see, we're already at 5 points for Bear. If he goes to 6, you're already at risk from that Vi combo. Even though there's only 5 cards in trash at the moment, they can still fill that up quite quickly. And even 5 would take it to an 8 might unit, which can still be some big swings. So certainly a scary time for Darius. I think this turn is absolutely pivotal to be able to try and just regain the tempo swing in his favor.
Yeah, so far though, it looks like Batsu, I think, is in a pretty decent position with how this game has gone. He's up in terms of his runes and in terms of his card resources compared to Bear, who's starting to run a bit low on cards as well as resources. Spectral Matron bringing back the Treferian Glory Seeker. It feels like Batsu trying to reinforce the arena's greatest a little bit. I'm a bit surprised that he's not setting up to try and conquer. He is still behind in points right now, so if they don't deal with the Sneaky Saboteur, it could potentially be an issue.
Yeah. I think I was kind of hinting at the play a second ago. We may have made a slight blunder there, because we weren't able to actually. Yeah, so we'll let the Annie get to 6. I think if we'd pulled the Darius back first, there isn't the counterpoint that you wouldn't be able to play the Glory Seeker onto Arena's Greatest, but I do think that actually dealing with the Sneaky Deckhand and stopping Annie from getting to 6 would have been a very worthwhile play. This is a turn where if we have the Vi Ride the Wind combo, the game could just be over. I mean, there's no runes up on the Darius side. He's got nothing. There's nothing he can do. He just needs to play 1 Vi. He does have... I believe he doesn't have quite enough runes to be able to bring back the Ride the Wind this turn with the Annie. We can't play Annie, Vi, and Ride the Wind because we're only on 7. That is an 8 rune combo. So unfortunately, we might be able to get away with this if you're Batsu. You might just not have enough. But certainly still a very scary situation. If you're Bear here, you can just spend this turn, bring the Ride the Wind back, and set up for the finisher next turn potentially. But the Darius have a lot of might on the board to be able to set up a very strong battlefield if he chooses to. Yeah, we've got already 13 might in base. If we were to put that all on the war camp, that goes up to 16. So that may be too much for this Vi to get over, because there is not a lot in this trash at the moment for Bear. He's only up to 5 cards in trash at the moment.
Okay, so the Annie is going to come back, Ollie, and they are, I think, as you pointed out, Ride the Wind probably the right call here. So if you have Ride the Wind in your hand with any sort of Gust, Falling Star, Void Seeker, anything that could kick that Treferian Glory Seeker off that base, you could potentially just look to end the game. But yeah, unfortunately for Bear, doesn't quite have the tools right now. It's just going to set up instead, and because Batsu is behind in points, Batsu, he can score both, and he's still got to hold on for one more turn, still got to ride the potential storm that could come through from Bears riding the wind.
Exactly. I think this is good turn to start with. We just move in with the Kaiser to try and take the War Camp. One of the best things about War Camp here again is that the Kaiser would be protected from a Void Seeker because she goes up to 5 on this battlefield, so I think that's always important to note. But draws a card and it just gives you the maximum amount of resources and knowledge. I think very important sequencing in card games we see. The more experienced players will always make sure that they're getting every ounce of resources available to them, making sure they're sequencing correctly, because you never know if you top deck a key card that some maybe less experienced players might draw later in the turn when they don't have as many runes available. That can be really costly, so I think it's a very good way to do that. And it's just interesting. I think we'll probably have a real internal decision here of how much does he want to reinforce one battlefield. We can see we're already moving the Darius in. Are we going to choose to put the Matron in there as well? I think when you can see only 4 cards in the trash, you can be a little bit more open with this. It's not as scary being able to, because the same combo isn't there. I think when you see games like Zorn Warrens or a lot of Traveling Merchants, they can get that number up to 15, 16 quite quickly, but that hasn't been the case this game. So I think if you put 15 might on a battlefield, you're probably feeling quite good about it at this time.
And I'm just curious whether or not Batsu has Hidden Blade, because if he has a Hidden Blade, he can just shut any sort of counterplay down, right? And he doesn't have great ways to clear off battlefields, especially once you stack, as you kind of mentioned, that the magic 4 number to stop things like Void Seeker or maybe even above 6, so that Falling Star can't clear stuff. At that point where usually, as you've been kind of harping on, the Vi becomes the big board clear. But if you have something like a Hidden Blade ready to go, then suddenly Vi can't do anything. And I'm looking at the 7 runes that Batsu has, the 4 cards in hand. There's a pretty decent chance that he should have some sort of answer to be able to hold.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're spot on. I think he's really managed to turn the tide on this game. I think Annie not having the Ride the Wind combo last turn might be the thing that, the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think when you're playing these aggro decks, your windows can be quite tight in terms of taking advantage. And we might have seen he may have unfortunately missed his big window there. Because last turn was the perfect opportunity to try and score both battlefields. He wasn't able to do that. And now we can see Darius has just set up an absolute fortress on this Treferian War Camp that is going to take a miracle to get over. There's certainly a tall task to be able to try and take down that battlefield.
Okay, Batsu's still thinking right now. He hasn't actually played any new cards this turn. It's really just been sorting out where the units that he already played, which battlefield they're going to reinforce. Like you said, choosing the Treferian War Camp makes sense. It's Darius. He's a Treferian by nature. Literally, that was his chosen champion. But if I'm Bear, I'm kind of looking at this too and thinking what Bear wants to do on his next turn, right? We're assuming a lot that he has the Vi. I mean, similar idea with the Hidden Blade that we've gone, I think, far enough in that one of the 3 copies, if you're running 3, likely to be in hand. But you still got to kind of figure out a way to kick all of that out and even more reinforcements onto Treferian War Camp. Treferian War Camp as well, it's worth noting, it's +1 to each unit there. So going wide on the War Camp is absolutely massive. So even something like a small Paudiporo, it's 2 might, but it gives you that extra +1 just from having a body there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking about what Bear wants to do. It's certainly going to be interesting. I mean, you've only got 4 cards in trash, so the Vi combo isn't even that strong. I think one of the biggest issues with Vi is he's not a massive fan of holding, and we see a second Darius coming down. So I think any attempt to take the War Camp is going to be unsuccessful next turn. I think the only key might have to be try and take Arena's Gracious and see if you can hold on for dear life. But I think, as you saw before, what you can do is you can just retreat both Dariuses, play 2 cards, ready them, and then go in again. So I think Batsu's in a really, really strong position here. I'm not sure if Bear's deck really has the answers to be able to deal with such a fortified position that is this War Camp right now.
Tell you what, this is when you wish you had Timbers. Something to try and clear the board out a little bit. But even then, it's 6 and 6 for the Dariuses. It's 5 and 5 for Spectralmation and Kaisa. That's not going to get cleared out by Tibbers being dropped. And Tibbers, I don't believe, has the Accelerate either. So you just kind of can't rush it. I think I'm with you on this. It's going to be the Arena's Greatest, and it's got to be Bear's Greatest, trying to hold on for dear life onto that one as well. Does he have the options? The 5 cards in hand, 8 runes ready to roll as well. And that's one of the problems, I think, with Chaos, is that Chaos and Fury by themselves, they don't have great board clears.
No, I think you're exactly right. Yeah, this is not a deck that loves to hold battlefields. It's certainly not what it's designed to do. So it's going to be a big task here. You can trade the Annie into the Glory Seeker, then put on with the deckhand, but there's just so much that this Darius deck runs that will end the game. I think I mentioned already. But if you just retreat both of these Darius Trifarians and then ready them again, you'll win the game through that method anyway. So I'm curious to see if there's much of an answer. There is certainly deep in the think tank at the moment, trying to see what the best move is. We are going to move in with both units. So as mentioned, he can trade in with the Annie here, which I think is what we are choosing to do by the looks of it. So he's now got the 2 Might Deckhand sitting on the arena's greatest. Either goes up to 7 points. The question is, what can we do from here?
I'm gonna laugh so hard, Ollie, if Batsu doesn't actually have 2 cards he can play on his next turn. I mean, he should.
I think that's what you're almost banking on. I mean, he's gonna have 9 runes. No, he's got 6 at the moment. He's gonna have 8 runes. Yeah, you'd have to be pretty unlucky. I mean, the only thing is if you had like double Grand Stratagem or something like that. But the deck's curve is so low to the ground that I am almost positive he's going to have something. You see, he's doing it straight away. We're retreating both Dariuses, which means I think we are looking at a game on victory here. I don't think you do that so confidently if you don't have it. I think we're just sort of making Bear sweat for a second, making sure he does it in the right order. I think it's always good to take a breath, not get too excited. That's where misplays come. You know, for some of these players, it might be one of their first times playing on the stream. And you know, it's a cash cup. It's not your everyday standard weekly. It is, you know, there's some real money on the line here. We've got a big prize pool of $400 today. So the matron come down first. So we've still got 4 runes up, and we just need to see any other these 2 cards in Batsu's hand be playable, and then we will ready both Dariuses and swing 14 at this poor deck hand.
Okay, so that's the first one. Now we just need a second. I'm just thinking, okay, for Annie, there are cards that can still kick those Dariuses out there. Rebuke is a Chaos card that could work, and it's worth noting Bear kept all his energy ready to roll for this one. He's going to need 3.
See, the matron was enough by itself, because obviously when you play the Glory Seeker from the matron, that counts as the second card. So unless we're about to see 2 Fight or Flights and a Rebuke or something like that, we see a Flash, that's not going to help us. We see a Cleave, a double Cleave, and a Ride Wind.
Is that enough? I don't...
surely this isn't enough.
Yeah, Cleave is +3, so that's 6. That's 8.
Yeah, no. I think he's just teasing us here. He's teasing us. I think that would have been unbelievable if it had worked. But yeah, sadly not quite enough there to manage that. But a nice game 1 win for the Darius. Very good play. Lose game 1. But I think in a matchup like this, there's nothing, you know, glaringly obvious you want to bring into Annie. I think you had a great game 1. Had a good game plan. And yeah, I think just keep going, really. Interestingly, we actually see the Darius is the one playing the Zon Warrens, I believe, this game. So Annie plays Dreaming Tree, which is obviously people are very familiar with. We see it a lot in Yi and Ari. But it does work well because with cards like Flash and Ride the Wind, that will also trigger Dreaming Tree, so you can draw extra cards that way. So it's a nice third option. It's not necessarily your favorite, but when your opponent's playing your favorite battlefield for you, that always makes life nice and easy. So I'm sure he will take the opportunity here to put this Poro into Zon Warrens, I'd imagine, to try and start that discard process, and we do see that happening. So he scores his first point, and what will he get rid of? He'll ditch the Cleave. I think it's pretty reasonable. Ditch in the early game and see what he draws. We've still got 4 runes to work with here. And we see that they love this card. And we see that did come off the Zon Warrens. That was a top deck. He didn't shuffle his hand or anything. So very good, useful draw there. Gets his 2 points. I think that's what's really nice about the Seeky deck hand. You can just draw these, you know, sneak these points if you pardon the pun. But you can do well with that. And then we've still got 3 runes up. We can potentially see a Flash play to retreat both units. That would also trigger the Dreaming Tree on the deck hand. So potential here, if there is a Flash in hand, to have a really nice opener and just, have a lot of tempo on his side. But let's see if the Darius can respond. He's got 2 units of his own. The Glory Seeker is on 3, so it's got a buff there, and he will move to contest the Poro.
Yeah, and with the Zon Warrens for the Darius deck as well, that could suggest that there might be a Vi as well. A Fury card could be in the Darius deck. And it also just might be a way to go looking for that baited hook, potentially. I think that's what comes to mind for me. It's just cycling through the deck as fast as you can, or through your hand as fast as you can. Unfortunately, though, the Void Seeker once again coming out for Bear, replenishing itself and stopping the Glory Seeker. And unfortunately for Pouty Poro, that's not strong enough to take either battlefield right now. So Batsu not going to be able to score. Oh, no, he can, yeah. The seal, of course, acting as the second card. And now Darius can do what the Glory Seeker could not.
Yes, exactly. I think once they play the Void Seeker, they fully tapped out, so you're now not scared of retreat. So I even wouldn't be surprised if we see the Paro decide to trade in with something like the deck hand just to get it off the board. You don't really want to be giving Annie the hold point here for free. Only unfortunately with the seal there is obviously it's the seal of unity, so it's for the order, and obviously Darius needs you to recycle a fury rune, so he still had to recycle 2 runes then instead of 1. But this Darius is ready and is at 7, so obviously that makes life a little easier. But at least you now don't have to worry that there's anything coming down the pipe. Interesting, we choose to trade into the Poro with the on the Zone Warrens. So that means no one will conquer Zone Warrens, and the Darius will move in and take out the deck hand. So maybe he likes he's only got 3 cards in hand. Maybe he likes them, he doesn't want to ditch any of them. But certainly interesting. We'll hide a card, and that we can use the seal to hide the card. So very cool. Okay, nice turn there. Obviously killed all the tempo that the Annie had, which is what you want to keep doing. You just want to make sure you can minimize their board presence. And let's see what Bear has in response.
Okay, very efficient use. Now, oh yeah, I do believe I also got word about what the issue was with the Caitlyn's there. For some odd reason, Bear got the wrong side of the relationship. Those Caitlyn's are supposed to be Vi's. So...
yeah, I did notice he obviously... Piltover Archive have recently introduced the arcane artwork, the special ones, but it is still in Chinese, so maybe it just hasn't quite carried over properly. That would be my guess, is that they're both, if he's using the Vi arcane artwork, that is probably where the issue lies. I think that would be a safe bet there. So anyway, I'm sure it's all figured out. I don't think he's actually running Caitlyn. I don't think it's a card that he particularly wants in his deck, even if he could have it. So I think we're probably safe to assume that. Be interesting here if the Kai says we've played it accelerated, we're fully tapped out. If we do move into Zon Warrens, I assume we will, because obviously we can't kill this Darius, and we've got to work on the premise that it probably is a hidden blade that's been hidden. The interesting thing here is we saw last game he utilized the retreat of the Darius to then re-ready it and go into the other battlefield. With that hidden card, you actually can't do that, because if you pull out of that battlefield, your spell will die, your hidden card will die. So I think it's important to know that he's kind of trapped this Darius, at least for now. What he could do is play another unit to the Dreaming Tree, then retreat the Darius would work, but slightly more awkward than it was last game just because of the utilization of this hidden card.
Okay, Flash being discarded for the Zon Warrens there, and that's it for Bear, readying up the 2 runes for Batsu now. I agree with what you're saying. Ollie, you could drop a unit there that be one of your units, and that's what they're looking for with the Faithful Manufactor. And then Darius going back. Okay, I know Legion doesn't see tokens being played, but for Darius, does he
also? Yeah, I believe it doesn't.
Okay.
Count as well for some reason. Yeah, that's an interesting question for sure. I think it just doesn't. I think we're actually now just triggering a hitting blade. I assume on our own recruit just to get some more card draw.
Yep.
Oh, nice play.
And that would be a second card that's being played. So Darius would ready off the hidden blade.
Yes, and it's also technically it's a draw 3 because of Dreaming Tree. So you've targeted your own unit, you've killed it, and you've drawn 3 cards for it. So, and like you said there, that also the activation of the Hidden Blade does count as the second card of the turn, so we can now ready the Darius. So really great little combination there. I've got to say, I've got a lot of praise for Batsu. You were saying earlier that he is known as the sort of Darius mainstay, and we can see why. He is doing everything right. I don't think he's put a foot wrong.
Just very, very efficient to use with all of that. And for Bear, I'm feeling bad for Bear because it's kind of rough. Riding the wind to get Kaisa out to safety, though, that's a good play. And no hidden blade now, right? That got used up already. So another point
I think,
for Bear.
Yeah, absolutely. So he goes to 4. If he holds, he'll go to 5. And the Kaisa lives, which I think is massive. So we see him discard the seal. I think this is one of the great reasons to run Zorn, because seals are great. One seal is great. More than one seal is really not what you want to be seeing in the mid to late game. So having that Zone Warrens battlefield, just being able to dump the extra seals, just makes it so efficient. Because it's not you don't even have a tough decision. It's not a card you like, do I keep this, do I not? This is a card you're 100% happy to get rid of later into the game. So really good use there of that battlefield.
Vanguard Captain being... So I'm
Yeah,
trying to remember,
interesting.
did he tap?
He hasn't tapped.
Oh, Darius.
No, he's got Darius. He's got Darius and he's got the seal.
Right.
So he can still do it. It's just interesting that he chooses to send it to Zorn instead of just to base or anywhere else. But interesting. I think it makes it harder to conquer, more likely to hold there. And he will still go to 5 here because the Kaisa is going to hold this battlefield because Darius is fully tapped out now. But yeah, also great utilization of the Darius here legend ability. I think it's a really cool ability. It's certainly something quite different. To for a lot of legends, but yeah, really maximizing every ounce, using the seal nicely to keep up on runes. But yeah, very strong turn. We're having a slight debate now on point score. I believe Batsu's at 3. He went up to 4 and then it's gone back down to 3. So I assume we're going to be sitting at 3. And then Annie is going to go to 4, or is going to go to 5 once he holds on the Dreaming Tree, assuming there's nothing else coming down the pipe.
Yeah, that would tie in with what we've got on stream, where Plus is manually, by the way, shout out to Plus for organizing this and also for manually tracking the scores right now for us. So that ties up with what Plus has as well, 3-4. So Bear's still a little bit ahead with all the shenanigans he's been able to pull with riding the win, scoring the points right there, keeping ahead. But I feel like this was where Bear started to fall behind a little bit last game, was in this mid game where Batsu started building up a lot of units, starting to go wide and starting to have a lot of might available to him. Bear starts to run out of space to play. So I guess the question for Bear a little bit here is, does he have the units to come on, and has he found the Vi? Because the last game we talked a lot about getting Vi being the one to kind of clear their way, score multiple points, and he didn't get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're exactly right. I think there's the first few turns, you can, and it's not, you're quite likely to go in, score a few points, then retreat, and use some of your fancy movement. But it's when the opponent says, okay, then I'm just going to start dropping some big bodies, and you're going to have to find a way to deal with them. I mean, we've already got 10 might sitting on this Zon Warrens. That is not an easy number to get over by any stretch of the imagination. We do see a Void Seeker come through, just targeting the Vanguard captains. That will kill the captain there. And then we'll see if it draws a card, and then we get a stack deck. So we're just cycling the deck a bit here, building up the trash, which I think is always useful to do. You've hit 5 points. Annie really, really wants to get to that 6-point break, like the 6-point threshold. I do think we have the same issue with the Darius that we've seen multiple times, where he could just retreat it next turn, then move in to take on the Kaiser. So it's definitely something to be wary of. Assuming we don't play anything else, we will go up to 3 runes potentially, which obviously is key Void Seeker territory potentially. Or, we haven't really seen him play many cards like Rebuke or Fight or Flight. So it'd certainly be interesting if we see any of that come down next turn to really help this Kaiser cling on to this Dreaming Tree.
Yeah, I am a little bit concerned, watching Bear use that Void Seeker there. I know he's looking to draw cards and try and find options, but the sheer amount of runes, or lack thereof, for Bear is a little bit concerning here. That he's kind of low, and he's not got units on the board as well. I know that he's running fairly low-cost units for the most part, but again, the lack of units has been something that's been hurting him a lot. Darius now retreated for Batsu, and I've got to assume that Batsu is going to look for some way to get the Darius up or to remove that Kai'Sa, because if you can take that unit off the board, well, that's the Bear nightmare.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think the key when these Danny decks are successful, you see things like the Traveling Merchants come out early. We did see a singular Poro this game, but the Poro got traded into quite easily. I think it's just not had quite the same tempo that you really want. I think, like I say, it's just been a shortage of units. I think it's only a 2-game sample size, so maybe he has just had some unfortunate draws in different scenarios. But yeah, certainly not the best start. We're only on 4 runes, so we're only going to be at 6 next turn, so we still don't even have a lot of runes to work with potentially. Yeah. So yeah, definitely a scary place to be, I think. And mysteriously, we still haven't seen a hook come down, so maybe he isn't running it. I'm starting to question myself here a bit. Maybe he just isn't running one, but we'll certainly see. We dropped 2 more units into the Zon Warrens. We used the Glory Seeker without the Legion effect, and then we dropped down the Hopeful. So just really reinforcing that battlefield. We saw it worked. It was a great strategy last game with the Treferian War Camp. Just build an unpenetrable fortress on one side. We do see, interesting, the stat deck at action speed, always an interesting one. People kind of forget that this card can be played at action speed. You don't see it every day. Similar things like Find Your Center in the sort of green decks can also be played at action speed. So really useful there as well. But let's see if he takes anything useful. He'll still have 2 runes up after this play. So still potential to do something to try and swing the match up. I don't know if he's looking for something potentially like a flash, just to retreat the Kai'Sa and try and build up an attack next turn. It'll certainly be interesting to see.
Yeah, but I suspect, Flash, something defensive to get Kai'Sa back. I don't see a way for Bear to really take out the Darius, and that does mean that Batsu should catch up on points onto Bear. And Bear didn't manage to score the extra points, so he's at the 5, trying to get to that critical 6 you were talking about. Delaying 1 more turn just makes things worse and worse for Bear. It does feel like with the way these 2 decks match up, the longer the game goes on, the worse it is for Bear. His winning percentage goes down each and every single turn. So yeah, the fact that he's still not at 6, still not threatening that 2-point taken. I'm going to be honest, I'm looking at this, I'm not even sure he can 2-point take anymore, just simply because you can only score 1 battlefield once per turn, and Zon Warrens looks like it's been locked down.
Yeah, I think this is the issue. I think we're in a pretty dangerous spot here for Bear. It is looking eerily similar to the last game. I think
Yeah.
the thing with the key will probably be the fact he's at 5 points. I think that's because even though there's 4 units on Zorn, because it's not War Camp, it's not as strong. It's only 8 might total because there's a couple tokens in there and a Glory Seeker. So if we did have the combo, the thing is that the combo would only get us to 7. So,
Yep.
and the thing with the Vi combo, it's not the kind of thing you can do twice because you empty your trash completely to do it. So I think this is one of the issues. It's not like a combo in other games or other things where you can just, if you have the 2-card combo, you can do it repeatedly. It is one of those things where you get one shot at it, and if you don't make the most of that one shot, you're not going to get another one. So I think unfortunately we may just have to do it anyway just to clear out the board, but you certainly don't feel great about it. I think this is feeling like a pretty dicey spot. We do see the Darius and the Cleave come down. That's a great combo. So that takes us to 10. So we've still got a lot we can do here. Interesting, we go in against the other Darius. That makes sense. I think he's trying to say that he probably did the cleave after moving. That's recently been challenged in the rules. I assume we're still playing the previous version. So in our minds, you could always move in, play a spell, and that would trigger it. Then in the new rules, they seem to be saying something along the lines of you have to be holding or already have control of the Dreaming Tree. But I think for now, while we clear these rules up, we're playing the version that we're used to.
I'm just not sure. Like, Darius can't move till you play the cleave, no?
Sorry, you're right. Actually, yes, he shouldn't have drawn because he can't. Yeah. I think maybe they may have just actually figured that out. I think that's always that's a very good point. People are so used to doing the combo, but yeah, you actually can't move the Darius until the cleave. So I'm not 100% sure if he did draw a card or not. If he did, he probably shouldn't have. But we'll have to wait and see. I think maybe that's just some bit of confusion from the player side of things. I mean, I got baited by it as well. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's always important to know when you play Darius on turn 1, you can't actually. It's not ready when it comes down. So we're seeing some sort of tracking the mouse movements to see what they're looking at, but it could potentially be a slight talking point here.
The thing is, I actually don't think it makes a significant difference.
It's unlikely.
Yeah, he with that, Barry is up to 6 points at this time, and Batsu, of course, is at 6 as well. And I do feel like Batsu, with this many runes as well, just has so many options he can go with. Yeah, okay, there we go. It is sorted.
So yeah, he's replaced the card. The rest of it still works the same. He'd still play the cleave. Darius would ready itself and go to 10. So that doesn't affect the battlefield at all. I think we're now just asking for it to be the card to be recycled by the looks of it, or just mixed up in some way. Normally, accidentally drawing a card. The civil response, if you're not going to be too pernickety with the judge, is just you put it back in the deck and you randomize the deck. I know in Riftbound that shuffling is not something that we do a lot of, with everything being recycles. But I think in this scenario, when you have a slight mishap, I mean, players do it. It's a pretty easy mistake to make. We're not. I assume we're not going to be too pedantic with it, given the game isn't even out yet. It would seem a little bit harsh, in my opinion. But we'll certainly
money's on the
see.
line, Ollie. Money's on the line.
Money is on the line. That is true. This is not. All the events up until now have just been more, friendly events, whereas this one, there are some real stakes involved. So we could see anything happen, but I think we're obviously just maybe they might be calling a judge while we just get this settled. Because, there was an accidental card draw there that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and while they're starting that out, Ollie, let's talk a little bit about Batsu, because I'm disappointed. I still haven't seen the baited hook. Look, I'm learning a lot from this Darius, and the fact that the Darius looks actually very, very feasible, very usable, even without the baited hook, right? We were seeing the use of Legion, I think, is one of the biggest things. That and just readying up the Trifarian Darius multiple times. We're not even seeing the Legend Darius get used all that much. Yes, it's been used a couple of times, but really, I feel like it's just about having that Darius Trifarian on tap, ready to roll, and then using those Legion effects, using the low cost to get him attacking multiple times. And Batsu's navigated this game, I mean, pretty much flawlessly. Like, there's very little for me to criticize, and if anything, I'm just looking at the way he's playing and just learning from it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been really impressive to see. I think a lot of times when you see people play these combo decks that reprise some key part like the hook, and they think, oh, I didn't get the hook that game, that's why I lost. If I drew hook, I would have been fine. But actually, when you get these really experienced players like Batsu is with Darius, they know how to navigate the situations where you don't get the hook. I think it's the same with a lot of these Aurora decks. It's okay. It's not that hard to pilot when you turn 3 Aurora and you can win the game. It's what do you do when things don't go your way? And I think we've seen a fantastic example here from Batsu and how he's managed this. You see, we've pushed in, tried to push him with the Vayne. The Bear has responded with the Fight or Flight to actually retreat his own Darius. I think letting him have the point there doesn't make a big difference. You need to either, you need to win the next turn regardless. So I think trading there is definitely not in Batsu's favor. Sorry, in Bear's favor. I think this is where we could still see the combo. I think you've noticed with the Zon Warrens this game, we're now at 12 cards in trash. So think back to last game, we were at 4. So that would take Vi from a 3 to a 15, which as it stands would be enough to take both. I mean, you've only got the 2 Might Vi. Vi is an excellent attacker, but not particularly good at holding. And then if we look at over at Zon Warrens, we've currently got the Hopeful, we've now added the Kaiser, so we're currently at 12 total on the Zon Warrens. And let's see if they've got anything left to play. And there it is, the Draven. Oh, that could be the swing that it was needed, because this Draven is going to go to 10. This is as strong as Draven can be when you're, well, I guess technically not if you were playing on Aspirant's Climb, but for most scenarios, this is the strongest Draven's ever going to be. So we are now sitting at 22 might. We can see first turn is bringing back the Ride the Wind, but then we don't have enough runes left over to play Vi and the Ride the Wind. So I think that may unfortunately just be accepting defeat in many ways, unless we plan on... Yeah, I don't know if he's just realised... Yeah, I don't... think
you know what, Bear did play out the last game, even when he was in a kind of a losing position. So maybe he's just playing it out.
He made it sweat. We won't know until the last second what's going on. We are now playing the Cayman.
There's the Vi, there's the Ride to Win. But he does...
So I'm guessing, for anyone wondering, if you're using Piltover Archive, probably don't use the Vi Arcane artwork, because it may not pull across correctly. So we are looking at the games. Yeah, I think that's brutal for Bear. You are literally 1 rune away from winning the game.
Yes.
I mean, there's